Shabbat Shalom, everybody. My name is Noel Joshua Hadley. I'm happy to be here. I have some amazing news to give you. Unfortunately, I can't give it to you. I put out an announcement. This is one of the benefits of being in my Discord community. I put out an announcement in there that if you came to the Kingdom verse before I go live here, it's a 2-hour affair. I was going to give it, and boy, did I give it. I give a lot of the details. And it's life-changing details for this community, but I can't tell you. I was told I can't go this public with it yet. So in the coming weeks, I'll have more details for you guys. Let me just state that for anyone who has been praying for this community, for this ministry, and helping to support us, it has panned out. It has it is returning fruit. It's harvest time. So now you might be wondering why. Some of you recognize where I am. I'm in my trailer right now in my fifth wheel. The elephant in the room is that I didn't go live last week. I intended to. Some of you might have wondered why I didn't give a Torah portion. So long story short, in order to pay the bills and get by, we rent out our house. So people pay us to leave our house. Now, you're going to see this a lot this summer. We're going to be in here. Last year, we were, as you recall, in Europe. And so about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I have so much to get to tonight because we got a double portion, and I want to get to it. But I'm going to give you guys the story real quick. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, our air conditioner unit gave out. Now, the dad in me was immediately like, you know what? Forget it. Like, we'll just go without air conditioning all summer. We'll just have camp outs, whatever. We can sweat our way through it. But I knew that wasn't the right solution because we do rent out our house. You can't have people coming and staying in your house in the heat of the summer in the American South with a air conditioning like a swamp cooler in the window, right? That's not going to cut it. So we brought several people by to give us quotes, and it was like, oh holy, it was like $13,000 to $15,000 for every quote. I'm like, that's it, I'm done, just throw in the towel, it's over, right? So we were finally able to get a guy to come out, and the one guy who said he was going to just repair the one we had, thank you, that should be the American way. And he's like, I can get you another like several years of life in this. And, he gave us a quote for very much more affordable, a couple $1,000s. And we're like, let's do it. But we still didn't have the money for it. And not really. And of course, immediately provided it by these people rented our house at the last minute. We're like, awesome. So we had to leave our house for 2 weeks in order to pay for the air conditioner unit that the people in there right now are enjoying without us. And as I'm driving my family down the Highway 17 or up Highway 17 to Myrtle Beach last Friday to get ready to do the Torah portions, we had a tire blowout in the truck and had to hit the brakes on the Torah portions. I was too tired. I was a mental wreck. You guys get it. Haha, those are dad jokes. But, seriously, by the time we got into the camp, it was past time and it didn't happen. So that's why I didn't come on live last week. Just so you guys know, I was trying to avoid you guys. I really wanted to be here. So we've got a double portion to hit up tonight. And there's another one right there. Last week you looked tired. I mean, they're just going to keep rolling in. There's no end to these jokes. People have been telling these jokes all week. So, but we're all safe. And, it was one thing. It's like, great. Now we've got, if you guys have ever blown a tire, particularly like a big tire, something you haul, like a 42-foot fifth wheel, that kind of thing, it does a lot of damage. So it was like a bomb blast, right? I mean, the paint job and scratches inside. So it's keeping us on our toes. Just one thing after the next, but we'll get through this. Thank you for all your prayers. And that, I'm just going to throw this out here. Here's a link under all the videos. Give, Send, Go. One of the great ways you can help support us. Personally, I prefer the Tuck Book Club, aka Patreon, and this is, of course, the website right here. Here's a article I just came out with this week. Paycheck, Philip K. Dick, Project Looking Glass, and Donald J. Trump. But when you join Patreon, you get the full access. I've closed this down now for like 10 years. I gave all my work away for free. I was just happy to do it. And now all of these right here are exclusive to anyone who is a supporter on Patreon, Tuck Book Club. It could be as little as $5 a month, guys. And of course, you guys get access to all the stuff. I'm scrolling really fast. Yeah, why did I go to the store? I don't really know why I went to the store. But all right, well, let's start talking about this here. So I wanted to incorporate last week, not knowing I was going to do a double portion this week, some of my research into the Millennial Kingdom, specifically the Baptisteries. And I wish I was on the page, so I got to scroll through this really quickly. And I told you guys when I was in Europe last summer that I had acquired so much research that it would take me several months of full-time work just to catch up with it all, which it's going to take me years actually, because just because of all the sheer amount of work I have to do. And I'm still trying to get caught up with a lot of these things, all the documentation I did. So the reason I'm going through this tonight, starting out with before the Torah portion. So if you want to get to the Torah portions, you can just skip ahead 20 minutes or something like that and go straight there to the reading. There was a absolutely amazing find. It's actually on the cover of this video tonight. I want to talk about it. I'm still not there. I wish I was. We're almost there. Okay, so here we go. Okay. One of the theories out there is, when we look at these baptisteries, were these used for sprinkling people? Were they used for dunking people or something else? And one of the theories that have been put forward is that it resembled, there was like some sort of engine in there that resembled kind of like a tokamak type of engine that had a magnetic field in there. And I actually have pictures in this report where you can go see where we actually have evidence of people removing items from them. So we do have documentation of that. So this is at Pisa. Everyone knows about the Tower of Pisa. You can actually see that in the background there in that photo. But this baptistry had my interest. I was able to go there this last year. And this baptistry took 211 years apparently to build, and it's this massive building, and you go in there and they have the quote unquote baptistry in the very center of it, and it's this little tiny, I mean it's big, but in comparison to the building itself it's really, really little. And this is one of the what I would say the unbelievable things about history, that they would literally take 211 years to build this intricate building for sprinkling people, right? I mean, just put a bird bath outside, really? Like, seriously, put a bird bath out there and sprinkle people, right? Now, specifically in this report, and I'm going to lead to you guys to what I discovered in updating this a little over a week ago. One of the things I found interesting when I walked inside, these are my photos here, and you can see the rafters here. It was under construction inside. This was actually a very commonplace thing to see. I would say, I don't know, maybe less than half of the places we went to, the cathedrals and so on and so forth, it was major upkeep, reconstruction, if you want to call it, facelifts. They had to keep these things up. And that tells you right there the sheer amount of riches that they had in the Middle Ages when they built these, to the point that we might ask ourselves if this is actually spiritual malpractice to put this much money into actual buildings, right? Just for the purpose of going in and praying and that kind of stuff. It's absolutely incredible how much construction I was seeing everywhere. And there's some more pictures right there of the scaffolding. In fact, Canterbury Cathedral, I was trying to look up how much each of these cathedrals cost per day. When I was at Canterbury, they actually let it out of the bag, that it costs 30,000 pounds per day. That's 11 million pounds per year just for Canterbury Cathedral, just to keep that thing out. And if you've been to Canterbury Cathedral, it's the outside of it is not the best preserved. I mean, it's taken some wear and tear and through the different revolutions and so on and so forth. It's seen some damage. So it's pretty incredible. Now, when you go into this baptistry right here, there's this cute little adorable John the Baptist statue in there. And I checked and it wasn't put until 1938. So they apparently by this time, they didn't really know what to do with it. So they're like, let's just put a little statue in here to remind people that it was a baptistry. Very adorable. Now, going over to Florence Cathedral, I know I talk about Florence a lot, specifically the fact that the dome itself, when they constructed that, I have a whole report on here in this paper on this. That when they constructed that, they tell you that they had no technological know-how of how to put a dome on there. They didn't know how to do it. And so it actually sat without a dome. Like it took hundreds of years to build the cathedral. And even after that, they tell you that it was just a big gaping hole up there for like another 100 years. I mean, absolutely ridiculous that anybody would ever sign off on a project, any kind of blueprints, that they weren't able to finish it. Nevertheless, this building right out here, this is right outside Florence Cathedral. It's a Florence Baptistry. This was actually, they tell you, was built, it took 69 years to build. And it was, let's see, actually maybe it was like 140. But actually it was sitting out there something like 308 years or something, like hundreds of years before they actually got around to building Florence Cathedral. So, and of course you have these like massive doors. I think I put pictures of here. This is my kids out there and you could see how big these doors were. And there's a statue out there of Yahshua being baptized. And I kind of looked into that and lo and behold, again, it was added hundreds of years later. So, you know, it's still up for grabs as to what these were. I have questions. I don't know. I don't know if the theories of that is being put out there by the whole Tartarian movement is accurate or correct, but I also don't believe the official narrative. There's something very different about these buildings. And that brings me up to this right here. Ovaries. That's the image that immediately sprung to mind when stumbling upon this illumination was a woman's reproductive system. Some of you will disagree with me on this, but this is what I'm going with, and I'm not apologizing. Tell me I'm wrong. I was a little sheepish of my own observation at the first and considered making an announcement only after a 2-week period, 2-week wait, actually, so as to ensure my suspicion was backed by a missed period. I almost messed up that joke, but I course corrected it. But then a quick online search served as the only home pregnancy test that I needed. Now, this illumination, which is referred to as the Baptist of Christ. So what I was trying to do, guys, was I was trying to disprove my theory on the baptistries, and I was trying to show that, well, maybe they really were baptistries. So I was trying to look at medieval illuminations, and I couldn't find evidence. I do find evidence, like as you can see here, that in the Middle Ages, they were making illuminations of people getting put into some sort of tub object. Most of them will be like King Clovis. This is a unique one, and this is Yahshua as a baby, which I'm going to talk about, which show like almost always it shows full immersion, but this one it doesn't. So it's actually really interesting. And this was created in Spain around 975. So this is early Middle Ages, according to the official narrative. And it's attributed to the artist Ende. I might be pronouncing this person's name wrong. Ende. Ende. I don't really know. It's not a Spanish name as far as I know. It's a German name. It's an Anglo-Saxon original name. And I actually checked. This individual was a woman. I was like, what? So there's actually very few known female manuscript illuminators, but this was actually certainly one of them. And so here's the thing about this. All right. So I'm going, and I'll tell you what I see in here. I'm going that this is reproductive of women's organs. The thing is that apparently we didn't learn about the female reproductive system until the Renaissance period. And this is one of the exciting things about looking into all, this is what I tell people, like when they just say all the text, all the books, they were invented later, stuff like that. You're kind of missing some stuff in there to discover and learn. And I have found that history itself does not stack up. And that things that they claim they discovered later was actually known at a very earlier time, hundreds of years earlier, like this right here. For example, it wasn't until 1543 that someone named Andreas Vesalius published detailed illustrations of female reproductive organs and was the first to use the term hymen for the vaginal membrane. It was in 1559, almost 20 years later, that a guy named Rialdo Colombo claimed the discovery of the clitoris. He identified it. He called it the seat of women's delight, and this was in 1559. And in 1561, a few years later, a guy named Gabriel Falloppio, that's where we get the name fallopian tubes, actually. I don't know if you knew this. 1561, Gabriel Falloppio described the uterine tubes, which are now named after him, the fallopian tubes. And so I'll show you here. Here's a picture of him right there giving the sex talk to the clergy. And here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. Confession. I don't have the last time I have ever seen the inside of a woman's reproductive system was when I was in my mother's womb. I have no memory of that. So I did have to go look this up. So look at this picture and tell me that. So, okay, give you guys the talk right there. We have the fallopian tubes, we have the ovary, there's the path of the egg right there. And then, of course, the sperm comes up here to the egg. So I want you to look at this again, okay? Here we have John the Baptist. He is baptizing Yahshua. They put John the Baptist on a rock. He's sitting there. But if you look at this, it looks, when I first saw it, I thought he was a merman or a mermaid. They give it like fish scales on purpose here. So right here you have, clearly we have like a couple eggs, and these two fish are going up to them. Why are there two fish? Well, this is the age of Pisces, right? So that I'm telling you right now, that's a male and a female. It's going to be XY and an XX. And it is the conception of the age of Pisces. And it's interesting that the dove is coming down. This is clearly the Holy Spirit. We have a feminine encounter here. Keep in mind that, as you all know, a woman does not have the Y chromosome. She only has the X. That's what makes her XX. Therefore, there is nothing within her body it has to be the man that introduces the Y. So this is coming down from within the woman's body. This is more clarification. The medievalists truly understood that the dove was feminine. In fact, I'm seeing this all throughout the artwork. You see the dove with Mary and things like that. It's always feminine coming down. And it's interesting here that Yahshua is a baby. I can't ever recall seeing a baptismal picture of Yahshua. He's always an adult. That he's being baptized by John the Baptist. And notice here how they cleverly make the river the woman's reproductive organ. Of course, here's a couple more fish. You guys know what those are, right? They're coming in. But these two right here are going to be the winners. They're ahead of the others. They're going to get the eggs, and it's going to be a male and a female, age of Pisces right here. So I included this in my Vesica Piscis paper. Come check it out. I was just blown away by this, and leave it to a woman illustrator to do this. So one of the contributions of the Middle Ages. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I want to start bringing in more, because all throughout the week, guys, I'm updating old papers. I'm putting more research out there. I don't talk about like 90% of it on YouTube, because I'm doing the Torah portions, which are more important. and interviewing people, this kind of stuff. So all this research I'm doing, if you guys aren't reading my reports, it's getting lost. And this is one of the things that I'm just going to go back to this really quickly. If you guys are familiar with my website, you can go to the article updates page. Of course, this is locked off. This is for Patreon subscribers now, but you can see they're like 4.2. That was yesterday, 3.30, 3.30, 3.29. You can just see all the updates to these papers. I'm doing like 10 to 15 page, sometimes 20 page updates on these, just going through and giving you information. So go check it out. All right, let's get into tonight's Torah portions. Brought to you tonight by Ben Affleck, smoking a cigarette, taking a break for himself, and bracing myself for 10 days of fully grown adults falling for space psyops. So if you don't know the meaning of that, of course, there was a launch in the last couple days. What did it launch on April 1st? I think it might have. Don't quote me on that. But NASA is doing a test run. They're not ready to land on the moon yet after 50 years of doing it before, like several times, but they're taking some astronauts out past the moon, and I'm not sure how it works with the physics this time around, because they're not slingshotting around the moon. They're like putting on the brakes in space and turning around and rocket jet propulsion through vacuum back to the Earth. So whatever, brace yourself, everybody, because there's going to be some grown adults out there getting really excited about, after 50 years, we're going back to the moon. I'm actually a little disappointed that they're not landing on the moon. I'm actually a little disappointed because, I wasn't around for the first Apollo missions. I was born in 1980. They ended by like 75 in the whereabouts. So I'm kind of a little excited that we're like going back into like another, it's happening, guys. It's finally, my entire life we're not going to Mars yet, but my entire life I was waiting for this moment. All right. Let's open with 30 minutes into this. Let's open with prayer from the Paleo. Our Father, set apart is your name, and your royal dominion, your pleasure, your delight, you will exist in Shamayam and in Arats. And give us our bread continually, and pardon our faults, our sins and missteps, in the same manner in which we forgive those who commit faults, sins, missteps against us. And all, do not bring us into the hands of testing, but guard us from all evil. Amen. You know what I love about the Lord's Prayer is how it's not intended to give us a false assurance that somehow we're glorifying God or making him any bigger than he possibly is. It's actually reorienting ourselves to recognize our own place in our relationship with our Father. And that's such an amazing prayer. I'll never get tired of it. Since we went through this, since I have a double portion tonight, I'm going to skip some of this reintroduction again. I went in the last video. You can go check that out. I was going to go over it a second time, but let's just get right into this. I don't know if I went over this, though, an overview of the Torah. So we have, of course, we are in Leviticus right now. I love the book of Leviticus for all its blood, its guts, its cleanliness, uncleanliness, and its call to holiness. Genesis is really Yasharel's beginnings. It's a family quilt from generation to generation, going from Adam down to all the way to Joseph and his brothers. The beginnings of Yasharel, of course, through Yaakov and his sons, and then Exodus, we see Yasharel's freedom from Mitzrayim. And of course, Leviticus, where we're at right now, is all about drawing near to Yahweh, teaching Yasharel. He draws him out into the wilderness to draw near to him, to learn how to be holy. When we get into Numbers, we'll see that it's a camping trip gone wrong. It's funny, but it's not funny, but it's so funny because it's true. Anyone who has ever been on a family camping trip and knows how quickly, within minutes, you can plan that bad boy out. Within minutes, it just goes downhill. And that's literally what happens in the book of Numbers. And then, of course, Deuteronomy is all about Yasharel's future. So a lot to look forward to tonight. Let's get right into this. The first portion is Leviticus 6 through chapter 8. And Yahweh, the ever-living, set words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, If a Nafash sin and act treacherously by acting covertly against Yahuwah and should make deception against his neighbor regarding anything stored or perhaps a deposit, or perhaps a violent robbery, or has acted unjustly or violently by oppressing or defrauding his neighbor, or perhaps he has found something lost and has been deceptive concerning it, and has sworn an oath over it fraudulently, over anything from all which he has fashioned, the Adam having sinned in these, then if he, having existed sinning and has having failed in his duty, then he shall return the plunder which he took by violence. So notice this is not a sin of ignorance, all right? And I told you on our last get together that there are no really sacrifices of forgiveness for conscious sins outside of the Day of Atonement, which is covering of all sins, with exception to specifically Genesis, Leviticus chapter 6, the very beginning. This has been noted right here that apparently, and the rabbis do talk about this too. Some of them agree and some of them don't agree with it, that it's a conscious sin. But apparently, if you defraud somebody knowingly, financially, you can make restitution. And here's the restitution part. Or perhaps from all which he has sworn an oath over with lying words, and having returned him his principal, and he shall increase over him the fifth part, and for which he shall give to him in the day of his guilt offering. So, according to this, recompense isn't just returning what was stolen or lost. It is giving above and beyond. I gave you guys before, like, you steal somebody's car, you're not just giving them a new car, you're giving them 3 cars, right? And I want everybody to think about this out here, because we have learned within Christianity or in the West or whatever, a very sloppy way of restitution of, well, I'm sorry, you just need to accept my apology, right? Oh, I'm so high and mighty and holier than thou, and you cannot accept my apology, and you just have to turn the other cheek. That kind of stuff. It's ridiculous. Like, it's like, no, like, if you have really hurt somebody, guys, you need to think about this. You want to make true restitution with someone, you want to live according to the Torah, you're not just going and restoring what was damaged or what was lost. You're going above and beyond, and you're putting them in a better place. You ever, speaking of camping, you ever go to a campsite, for example, and you're like, and you leave that campsite, and you're like, I want to make this look better than when I arrived here. I arrived, there was some trash over there that was a little untidy, whatever, and you like to make it look better. It's the same thing. That's how we should live our life all the time. This world should be a better place because we were here. Our friends should be healthier, our family, everything. Like, we should just, wherever we go and live our lives, if we are a living sacrifice, people should be better off because of us. That is our calling. That is the Edenic vision, according to this right here in Leviticus 6. And his guilt offering he shall bring into Yahuwah the ever-living, a ram, perfect, whole, sound, from out of the flock, with your assessment for a guilt offering unto the priest. And the priest shall cover over him to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living, and pardon shall be for him over anything from all which has fashioned through guilt in her. Then Yahuwah the ever-living set words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, command Aaron and his sons to declare, this is the Torah of the ascending offering. It is an ascending over a heap of fuel all night until daybreak, and the fire of the altar shall burn in it. And the priest shall clothe himself with his white linen garment, and with his white linen breeches he shall put on his flesh, and he shall lift up the ashes which the fire has produced, and the ascending upon the altar, and he shall place him near the altar. Then he shall put off his garments, and he shall clothe himself with other garments, and he shall carry forth the ashes toward the outside encampment, toward a clean place. It's saying that some of these priests are on ash duty, and I mean, imagine that, right? Like, there are glorious jobs and there are non-glorious jobs. I remember the summer that I worked in Beit Jala in just outside Bethlehem in this country of Israel. I worked at a chicken farm, and for like 3 months, I just shoveled chicken stuff, chicken crap. I mean, it was in the heat of the sun. It was brutal. It was not glorious at all. I'm just like, I'm just like caked in this stuff all day, guys. And there was a water shortage, and they only allowed you to take a shower once every 2 days. Okay, so I want you to think about that. Like, there are days that I'm walking, like I had to shovel chicken crap into a wheelbarrow and take this wheelbarrow up this mound of chicken, runoff, and hope that the sun baked it enough that I could get up there without falling into the green goo. It was so gross. But the thing is that, like, unfortunately at that time I was still young and immature, and I did it. I was doing missional work, but I didn't have that worshipful attitude. So think about that with these priests that are carrying these ashes. Maybe they don't have the big alpha job, like out there at the barbecue, lathering up, the meat with like spices and sauce and things like that, and cooking it and cutting it and that kind of stuff, But this is worshipful, and it's all a part of the worship of Yah, being on ash duty all night. In the fire over the altar, she shall burn upon him. She shall not be quenched. There is a theme of the Bible right there, guys. She shall not be quenched, the fire. But the priest shall burn over her wood daybreak after daybreak. That is all of our jobs as priests, right? So if you think like there's no temple complex today, well, there is, right? You are a temple. So she is the fire. She is the Holy Spirit within us. She is not to be quenched. Keep in mind, and this is kind of interesting that we're doing a double portion tonight, because we're going to get into the strange fire incident tonight, foreign fire, and Aaron's sons introduced fire that Yah did not introduce. This can be seen as a counterfeit Holy Spirit, right? A counterfeit spirit that comes into you, that is an abomination, and that is our job as priests, to ensure that fire within us does not go out, because we are not to light it again. It has to be Yah that does it. Daybreak after daybreak, and shall arrange the ascending offering in order upon her, and he shall offer odors upon her with the fats of the shalom offerings. The fire shall burn perpetually upon the altar. Never shall she go out. Think about that. Fire had to burn for hundreds and hundreds of years continually. The Torah of the gift offering. And this is the Torah of the gift offering. The sons of Aaron shall bring near her to the face of Yahweh, the ever-living, toward the face of the altar, and shall take a portion from him, his handful from the flour or meal, and from the oil, and the frankincense which is upon the gift offering. And he shall burn as incense upon the altar, as a sweet scent, a memorial unto Yahweh. And what remains from her, Aaron and his sons shall eat with matzah, or matzah-uth. It shall be eaten in the Kudash place, the holy place, the set-apart place. In the enclosure of the tent of meeting shall they eat her. She shall not be heated with hamatz for their portion, and that would be fermentation. Not be eaten with fermentation. I have gifted her from my fire offerings. And again, remember now, Yahshua said he is the bread, right? So in the tabernacle mysteries, we are learning about the body of Mashiach. It is most set apart, like the sin offering and the guilt offering. All males among the sons of Aaron shall eat of her. A chalk to time of long duration through the circuit of your generations from the fire offerings. All that touches upon them shall be kudash, shall be set apart and holy. And Yahweh, the ever-living, set words in order towards Al-Mashahah to declare, this gift offering shall Aaron and his sons bring near unto Yahweh in the time period when he is anointed, the 10th of the afaha of fine flour or meal for a gift offering perpetually, half of her in daybreak and half of her in the dusk, over a cooking plate with oil. You will fashion it from mixing. Dipped the pieces cooked you will bring near as a sweet scent unto Yahweh. And the anointed priest below him and his sons shall fashion her a chak for time of long duration unto Yahweh, the ever-living. It is completely burned as incense, and all gift offerings of a priest are completely burned. She shall exist, not eaten. The Torah of the sin offering. And Yahweh, the ever-living, set words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, set words in order toward Al-Aaron and toward his sons to declare, this is the Thu'urath of the sin offerings. And that's, of course, a plural of the Torah right there. This is the laws, Torahs of the sin offering. In the place where the ascending offering is slaughtered, you shall slaughter the sin offering to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living. It is most set apart. The priest that offers her shall eat of her. In the Kudash shall she be eaten, in the enclosure of the tent of meeting. You ever think about this? I mean, because maybe somebody is listening to this and hasn't thought about this, that this is, you're feeding the priest, right? Remember, the priests have no inheritance. They have when they go into the land, they have no land division. There are Levites that are given places to live around Jerusalem in all different areas. And this is one of the ways that you would go feed your local priests. You bring an offering and they eat it right there. They cook it and they eat it. All which touches upon the flesh of her shall be set apart, and that which is sprinkled from her blood upon any garment which is sprinkled from her, you shall wash in the Kudash place. And all vessels of earthenware in which it is ripened with heat on him shall be broken into pieces. And conditionally, if it should be cooked in a copper pot, then it shall be scoured and rinsed in water. All males from among the priests shall eat her. It is most set apart. And all sin offerings of which he shall bring near a portion from her blood toward the tent of meeting to make a covering in the Kudash, none of it shall be eaten. She shall be burned in fire. The Torah of the guilt offering. And this is the Thu'urath, or the laws, by plurality of Torah, of the guilt offering. It is most set apart. In the place at which they slaughter the ascending, he shall slaughter the guilt offering, and his blood he shall sprinkle upon the altar in a circuit round about. And all his best, choicest fat from him he shall bring near, the thick, fat tail, and the best, choicest fat which covers the interior. And the 2 kidneys, and the best, choicest fat which is upon them, which is by the loins. And he shall turn aside the heavy redundance upon the liver. And the priest shall burn them as incense upon the altar, as an offering by fire unto Yahuwah the ever-living. It is a guilt offering. Any male among the priests shall eat him. In the Kudash place he shall eat. It is most set apart. Like the sin offering, like the guilt offering, there is one Torah for them. The priest that makes a covering with him, he shall exist for him. And the priest who brings near any man's ascending offering, the skin of the ascending offering which he has brought near shall exist to the priest. And every gift offering baked in the oven, and everything made in a pot, and upon the cooking plate, it shall exist to the priest which brought near her. But all the gift offerings mixed with oil and dry shall belong to all the sons of Aaron, each man like his brothers. The Torah of the Shalom offering. And this is the Torah of the Shalom offerings, which he shall bring near unto Yahuwah, the ever-living. Conditionally, should he bring near a gift offering, then he shall bring near with his sacrifice of Thu'wadaha, unfermented cakes mingled with oil, and unfermented wafers anointed with oil, and fine flour or meal cakes dipped in oil. Over the perforated cakes is fermented bread. He shall bring near his sacrifice of thanksgiving. It is his offering of shalom. And he shall bring near a portion from him the whole of the gift offering unto Yahuwah the ever-living. The priest that sprinkles the blood of the sacrifice of the gift, this will exist for him. And he shall eat the flesh of the sacrifice for the thanksgiving of his shalom in the day he is brought near. He shall not leave any portion of him until daybreak. Conditionally, should anything be vowed, or rather should a spontaneous offering be sacrificed, in the day he brings near sacrifice, he may be eaten, and day after day, or the day after, the remaining portion may be eaten. But the remainder of the flesh upon the 3rd day he shall burn with fire. And conditionally of eating, he shall eat from the flesh of the sacrifice of his shalom offering upon the 3rd day. He shall not be graciously accepted, neither shall he bring him near to be reckoned unto him. He shall exist as an abomination, and the nephash that eats any portion of him shall bear his depravity. And the flesh which touches upon any uncleanness, it shall not be eaten. He shall burn it in fire. And any pure one, he shall eat its flesh. And the nephash, which eats of the flesh of the sacrifice of the shalom offerings, which are unto Yahuwah, and who has uncleanness upon himself, he shall be cut off, even that nephash from her people. And if the nephash touches upon anything unclean, upon the uncleanness of Adam, or perhaps upon unclean beast, or perhaps upon any unclean person, and shall eat from the sacrifice of the shalom offerings, which are unto Yahuwah the ever-living, then even that nephash shall be cut off from her people. The eating of fat is prohibited. And Yahuwah the ever-living set forth words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, set words in order toward the sons of Yasharel to declare, all the best choicest fat of cattle, and of sheep, and of goats you shall not eat. And the best choicest fat of a carcass, and the best choicest fat of that which has been torn by beasts may be fashioned for any prescribed work of service, but eating you shall not eat it. For all who eat the best choicest fat from parts of the beast which has been brought near from any part of fire offerings unto Yahuwah the ever-living, then shall the nephash that eats her shall be cut off from his people. And you shall not consume any blood in any of your places of habitation, whether of winged fowl or of beast. Any nephash that consumes any blood, then she will cut off that nephash from among her people. I know that there is somebody listening right now to this video that is going, oh my goodness, like there's blood in meat and I'm eating an abomination. I'm going to be like, just stop. Like that's like, I'm going to go into it when we get into, I think Numbers, we go more into it. And I'm going to be showing that red stuff in the meat, like the steak, that's not blood. Okay, the blood has been drained. That's not blood. And I've talked to, and it's not just a Torah problem. I've talked to people who have worked in like steak houses and stuff, and they get so grossed out. They want to like cook their meat black because they're like, I don't want any blood in there, and they keep telling them that's not blood. Okay, it's not blood. All right, so you guys don't have to worry about that. When the animal dies, it's drained of the blood. You can have your steak super rare, and you're good to go. And Yahuwah the ever-living set forth words in order toward Al-Mashahad to declare, set words in order towards the sons of Yasharel to declare, from bringing near the sacrifice of his shalom unto Yahuwah the ever-living, he shall bring his gift unto Yahuwah from the sacrifice of his shalom. His hand shall bring near the fire offerings unto Yahuwah the ever-living, the best, choicest fat upon the breast. He shall bring it with the breast for waving him as a wave offering to the face of Yahuwah. And the priest shall burn as incense the best, choicest fat upon the altar. And the breast shall exist for Aaron and his sons. And the right leg you shall give as a heave offering unto the priest from the sacrifices of your shalom. And the one from the sons of Aaron who is bringing near the blood of the shalom offering and the best, choicest fat, the leg will exist to him as his portion. For the breast of the waving and the leg of the heave offering I have taken from the sons of Yasharel, from the sacrifices of their shalom, and I have gifted them to Aaron the priest and to his sons for a chalk for a time of long duration from the sons of Yasharel. This is the consecrated portion for Aaron and the consecrated portion of his sons from the fire offerings which Yahuwah in the day he brings near them to the priests of Yahuwah, which Yahuwah has established to give to them in the day of his anointing them from the sons of Yasharel as a chalk for a time of long duration throughout the circuit of their generations. You know, I was just thinking about this. Let me finish this chapter, and then I'm going to give you guys another original thought that I just had while I was reading this live. This is the Torah of the ascending offerings, and for the gift offerings, and for the guilt offerings, and for the inaugurations, and for the sacrifice of the shalom offerings, which Yahuwah has established with Mashahah on Mount Sinai, or Sinai, in the day of his establishing the sons of Yasharel, to bring near their offerings into Yahuwah the ever-living in the wilderness of Sinai. I was thinking that, my best bud, my best buddy, Paulie Hart, he's a Levite. He traces his family to the Levites, the Hart family. And I was thinking about this, that I need to take my local Levite priest some nice meat, cut it up for him, and be like, here you go, I'm going to feed you some meal. So if anybody knows any Levite priests out there. All right, chapter 8. And Yahweh, the ever-living, set words in order toward Al-Mashahah to declare, take Aaron and his sons with him, and the garments, and the anointing oil, and the young bullock of the sin offerings, and 2 rams, and the basket of unfermented, and all the congregation shall assemble unto the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Mashahah shall fashion like that which Yahweh, the ever-living, has established with him, and the congregation shall assemble toward the entrance of the tent of meeting. And Mashahah declared toward the gathered, this is the debar which Yahweh, the ever-living, has established to be fashioned. And Mashahah brought near Aaron and his sons, and he washed them in water. And he gifted upon him the tunic, and he girded him with the belt, and he clothed him with the upper robe, and he placed over him the ephod, or the ephod, and he girded him with the variegated girdle of the ephod, and placed it upon him. And he placed upon him the ornamented breastplate, and he did gift upon the ornamented breastplate the lights and the perfections. And he placed the turban upon his head, and he placed upon the turban toward his face the golden set-apart Nazar, which, what is this right here? This is the consecrated crown, like that which Yahweh, the ever-living, has established with Mashahah. And Mashahah took the anointed oil, and he anointed the Mashkan dwelling place, and all that which is in him, and he set them apart. And he sprinkled from it upon the altar 7 strokes of the anvil. And he anointed the altar and all his implements, and the basin and his pedestal, to set them apart. And he poured out from the anointing oil over the head of Aaron, and anointed him to set him apart. And Mashahah brought near Aaron's sons, and he clothed upon them tunics, and girded them with girdles, and bound for them turbans, as Yahweh, the ever-living, established with Mashahah. And he brought near the young bullock for the sin offering, and he supported Aaron and his sons, their hands over the head of the young bullock for the sin offering. And he slaughtered, and Mashahah took the blood and gifted upon the horns of the altar in a circuit round about with his forefinger. And he purified the altar, and the blood he poured out toward the base of the altar, and he set it apart to make a covering upon it. And he took all the best, choicest fat upon the interior, and redundants above the liver, and 2 kidneys, and the best, choicest fat. And Mashahah burned as incense upon the altar, and the young bullock and his skin, and his flesh, and his excrement he had burned with fire outside of the encampment, like that which Yahweh, the ever-living, had established with Mashahah. And he brought near the ram for the ascending, and Aaron and his sons supported their hands upon the head of the ram. And Mashahah slaughtered and scattered the blood in a circuit round about upon the altar. And the ram he cut into pieces, and Mashahah burnt incense with the head and the pieces of flesh and the fat. And the interior and the legs he washed in water. And Mashahah burned as incense the whole ram as an ascending offering. It is for a sweet scent, a fire offering like that which Yahweh, the ever-living, had established with Mashahah. And he brought near the second ram of the inauguration, and Aaron and his sons supported their hands upon the head of the ram. And Mashahah slaughtered, and he took from his blood, and he gifted upon the tip of Aaron's right ear, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And he brought near Aaron's sons, and Mashahah gifted a portion of the blood upon the tip of the right ear, and upon the right thumbs, and upon the great toes of the right foot. And Mashahah scattered the blood in a circuit round about the altar. This is the dedication of the Levite priest. And I'm kind of glad, in a way, that we're doing these 2 Torah portions together, because we're going to see that it goes terribly wrong really quick. I mean, really, really quick. Just like the camping trip in Numbers, where they finally set out from Sinai, and it just, like, after a weekend, it's over. It just all goes downhill. And I've also commented in the past, probably a couple months ago now, and I showed you guys, I'm not going to do it again tonight, how in Butler, Pennsylvania, was that 2023 now, or is it 20? I think 2024. I've lost track of time. It was one of those summers with the the Trump assassination attempt. However you conclude what was going on there, it did seem to eerily resemble a Levite inauguration ceremony, with what's going on here with the blood on the right ear and the foot removed, the blood on the toe and on the around all that stuff. And he took the best choicest fat and the thick fat tail and the best choicest fat upon the interior and the redundant lobe of the liver. And from the basket of the matzah uth, which was to the face of Yahuwah, the ever-living, he took challah and one unfermented bread and one challah bread oiled and one thin wafer, and he placed upon the best choicest fat and upon the right leg. And he gifted the whole upon Aaron's hands and upon his son's hands and waved them for a wave offering to the face of Yahuwah, the ever-living. And Mashahah took them from over their hands, and he burned them upon the altar of the ascending. They are inaugurations for a sweet scent. It is a fire offering unto Yahuwah the ever-living. And Mashahah took the breast, and he waved him as a waving to the face of Yahuwah from the ram. He existed for a portion, as Yahuwah the ever-living had established with Mashahah. And Mashahah took from the anointing oil and a portion of the blood which was upon the altar, and he sprinkled it upon Aaron, upon his garments with him, and set apart Aaron and his garments and his sons garments with him. And Mashahah declared toward Aaron and toward his sons, cook the flesh at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and there you shall eat him with the bread which is in the wicker basket of the inauguration, like that which I was commanded to declare. Aaron and his sons shall eat him. And that which remains of the flesh and of the bread you shall burn him in fire. And from the entrance of the tent of meeting you shall not go forth for 7 days until the day of the completion of the days of your inauguration. For 7 days he shall fill your hand, like that which he has fashioned on this day. Yahuwah the ever-living has established to make a covering over you. And at the entrance of the tent of meeting you shall remain day and night for 7 days, and you shall guard the observance of Yahuwah that you die not. For in this manner I was commanded. And Aaron and his sons fashioned all the purpose plan which Yahuwah the ever-living established by the hand of Mashahah. Chapter 9. And he existed on the 8th day. Now there's a right there, because we just saw the 7 days. There's so much there. And again, I'm not going to, I've done this with you guys before. I've taken you through the 7 days and the 8th day, look at a lot of the different theological statements there, looking at the 7,000 years of history from Adam, not necessarily from creation, but from Adam forward, and showing how, like on the Greek LXX, we're actually in what we would call the 8th day now. And we've actually got about 500 years to go to the completion of the 8th day. A lot of people don't want to hear that. They're like, come on, 2030, come on, poking the alien invasion. Come on, do something, right? Project Bluebeam or whatever. But so the 8th day is amazing. When you just go through all of Scripture, you look at all the themes of the 8th great day, and of course, one of the things you do on the 8th day is you circumcise your sons, right? So that points forward to the ultimate circumcision of the heart of all people, I believe, like the final resurrection. So he existed on the 8th day that Mashahah called out to Aaron and to his sons and to the bearded ones of Yasharel. And he declared unto Aaron, take for yourself a calf, son of the herd, for a sin offering, and a ram for an ascending complete whole sound, and bring them nearer to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living. And toward the sons of Yasharel you will set words in order to declare, take for yourself hairy goats for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb, sons of a year, complete whole sound for an ascending, and an ox, and a ram for a shalom offering to sacrifice to the face of Yahuwah, and a gift offering mixed with oil, for on this day Yahuwah the ever-living will be revealed toward you. And he took that which Mashahah had commanded toward the face of the tent of meeting, and he brought near him all the congregation, and he stood to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living, and Mashahah declared, this is the purpose plan which Yahuwah the ever-living has established that you should fashion, and he will be revealed toward you the heavy weight of the splendor of Yahuwah. And Mashahah declared toward Aaron, approach toward the altar and fashion your sin offering and your sending, and make a covering on the behalf of yourself and on the behalf of the people, and fashion a sacrifice for the people, and make a covering on their behalf, like that which Yahuwah the ever-living has established. And Aaron brought near toward the altar, and he slaughtered the calf of the sin offering, which was for himself. And the sons of Aaron brought near the blood toward him, and he immersed his fingers into the blood, and he gifted it upon the horns of the altar. And the blood he poured out toward the base of the altar. And the best, choicest fat, and the kidneys, and the redundant portion of the liver from a portion of the sin offering. And he burned as incense upon the altar, like that which Yahweh the ever-living had established with Meshachah. And the flesh and the skin he burned with fire from outside of the encampment. And he slaughtered the ascending offering. And Aaron's sons presented toward him the blood which he sprinkled upon the altar in a circuit round about. And the ascending offering they presented toward him of the pieces and the head. And he did offer odors upon the altar. And he did wash the interiors and the legs. And he burned incense for the ascending upon the altar. And he brought near the gift of the people. And he took the hairy goat, which was for the people, and he slaughtered him. And he offered him for a sin offering like the first. And he brought near the ascending, and he fashioned it according to the statutes. And he brought near the gift offering, and he made full the curved hollow of his hand with a portion, and he burned incense upon the altar, separate from the ascending of the daybreak. And he slaughtered the ox and the ram as a sacrifice of shalom offerings, which was for the people. And Aaron's sons presented the blood toward him, which he then sprinkled upon the altar in a circuit round about. And the choicest fat ones from the bullock and from the ram, the thick fat tail, the caul and the reins, the kidneys, and the abundant part of the liver. And he placed the best, choicest fat upon the breast, and he offered odors with the fat upon the altar. And the breast and the right leg Aaron waved as a waving to the face of Yahweh the ever-living, like that which he had established with Meshachah. And Aaron lifted up his hand toward the people, and he did barak them, or he did bless them. And he descended from fashioning the sin offering and the ascending offering and the shalom offerings. And Meshachah and Aaron came toward the tent of meeting, and then came forth and did barak the people. And the heavy weight of the splendor of Yahuwah the ever-living appeared toward the people. And the fire descended from the face of Yahuwah the ever-living, and she consumed upon the altar the ascending offering and the best, choicest fat. When all the people observed, they emitted a tremulous shout and fell upon their faces. So this is amazing. So let me just say this, read this last paragraph one more time, because I don't want this to go unnoticed. We just went through all these instructions about, what priests are to, how they're to cut up the meat and what they eat, and, the fat goes to Yah, right? All that kind of stuff. Remember now that the fire is not to ever go out. And it says this, and fire descended from the face of Yahweh the ever-living. I'm trying to imagine what that looked like. I mean, we have incidents with Sodom and Gomorrah where there's Yahweh on the earth and in heaven. It's kind of a mystery, but the fire comes down and and it just pulverizes Sodom and Gomorrah. Same thing is happening here. It's coming down and it's lighting the grills. And it says, and she consumed, so she the fire, so this is connected to the Holy Spirit. And she consumed upon the altar the ascending offering and the best, choicest fat. So they laid the meat up there, and they stepped back. I'm hoping they stepped a good ways back, because how long do you think they stood around waiting? You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be one of those moments where you're like, I wonder if anything's really going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, like, what's going to happen here? I mean, he's right up there, right? But then when this fire comes down, just like boom, and just sets this meat on fire. It was enough of a force. It said when all the people saw this happen, when they observed this, they emitted a tremulous shout and fell upon their faces. Yeah, I mean, it probably wasn't like it was so much shock and awe. It probably wasn't too voluntary on their part. I mean, they're like, it's not that they're hugging their butts goodbye, but it's they probably couldn't have walked if they wanted to. Their feet would have been so wobbly. It's seeing that. And of course, then we go into immediately after this amazing account of the dedication of the Levite priest. We go into a sad, it goes downhill really quickly with Nadab and Abihu, or Abba Yah Ha Wah. I guess. I don't know how to pronounce that, but Nadab and Abihu. We know about these two guys, Aaron's sons. And Nadab and Abiyahawa, the son of Aaron, each man took his fire pan, and he placed therein fire. That's not a good idea. It's amazing. Like, there had to be. This isn't just malpractice. I mean, this is like rebellion. I mean, straight up rebellion. Like, can you guys imagine that? I mean, I don't know how much time has passed here, but you just watched the God of Israel bring down fire. Nobody lights, a match, and you watch it consume. And now the fire is going, and the priests are rushing around to clean up the ashes and put the wood on and make sure everything's kindled. And they're like, nah, we're good. We're just going to light our own fire here. Like, what in the world is going on with these guys? But this is, of course, a great lesson for all of us spiritually, right? And as we recognize that the commands, the laws, the true commands that we are to keep are the spiritual commands. And as I pointed out, that if we're keeping the true spirit of the law, that we are keeping the letter of the law. That the spirit of the law is much harder to keep than the letter of the law, if that makes any sense. We can all say, oh, I've never murdered someone before, but in our heart, if we're all honest, we've murdered people, right? So how do we not be these two dudes and bring a strange fire before Yah and try to think that we can please him in doing that? Anyways, they put upon her incense to the face of Yahweh, the ever living. I mean, this is so painful reading this. We all know what's going to happen. A loathsome, unlawful fire, which he had not commanded them. And fire went forth from the face of Yahweh, Adah. Just like, what were they thinking? And fire went forth from the face of Yahweh. Maybe they had like this, I don't know, modern like grace mentality or like doctrine or something like that. I don't really know. The ever living, and as a powerful sign, she consumed them, and they were slain to the face of Yahweh. It's like I say, like everyone's got to pass through the fire. Every one of us are going to pass through the fire, and we're either going to be like these two, we're going to burn up in a crystal of the fire, or we're going to live eternally in the fire. That's one of the things that because when you like get into the book of Enoch and it talks about the house of Allahayam, it's just like this fiery house that you have to pass into, and that's the irony. Everyone's so afraid of the fires of hell, and it's like it's we're all going to be living the fire, guys. Like it's you just pick how you want to survive in the fire, I guess, or not, and be burned up in it. And Mishahah declared toward Al Aaron, you notice he turns right to like their daddy, because Aaron's going like, what in the. This is that which Debar Yahweh set forth to declare. I'm sure Aaron was like, he did not want to hear this. In those who draw near me, I will be Kudash, and over all the people, I will be made heavy with splendor. And Aaron was silent, confounded, astonished. And Mishahah called out toward Maasha'al and toward Aletzaphan, sons of Azael, the beloved uncles of Aaron. And he declared toward them, draw near, lift up your brothers from the face of the Kudash toward the outside of the encampment. And they drew near and lifted them up in their tunics toward the outside of the encampment, like that which Mishahah had purposed. And Mishahah declared toward Aaron and to Eleazar and unto Athumar, his sons, you shall not lose your heads, neither shall you rend your garments. Then you shall not perish. And then wrath break forth upon the people. So it's kind of interesting here. They're commanded not to mourn for these guys. But allow your brothers, the house of Yasharel, to bewail the burning which Yahweh the ever-living has burned. And you shall not go forth. Well, I guess maybe I was wrong in that assessment. What I meant is not to rip their tunics, right? I remember now with the high priest, I believe, did with Yahshua on the day of on the night of his trial. And you shall not go forth from the entrance of the tent of meeting, Beware lest she destroy you, for the anointing oil of Yahuwah, the ever-living, is upon you, and they fashion like the purpose plan of Meshaha. The priests are forbidden to drink intoxicating beverages. Now, this is a really interesting section because this follows right after Nadab and Abihu. And this is one of the things about the Torah that we find is that there are different interpretations as to why there are laws that keep getting added in the Torah. For example, what he could have done, what Yahuwah could have done, is he could have started the book of Genesis, the first chapter, with just the 613 laws. He could have started with the 10 Commandments, 613, and then got into all the stories. He didn't do it that way. When he gets into the 10, he starts getting into some exposition on, the building of the tabernacle and then the dedication of the priest. And then you start seeing these instances where people rebel, and he's like, all right, I'm putting some new laws out there. And then people rebel again. He's like, all right, I'm putting some new laws out there. So people have different theories on this. Of course, one of my theories on this is not that he's creating morality as he goes along, because some people advertise it that way. Especially people who want to say that the Torah is done away with. I see it more as a clarification. Okay, I told you not to cross the street, and you did. So now you have to hold my hand. I'm putting that in the law here. You got to hold my hand. It's the same concept of protection, but it's more clarification of how, we get guidance. So this probably lines up with Nadab and Abihu. They were probably drunk when they did this. And Yahuwah, the ever-living, sent words in order toward Aaron to declare, do not drink wine or intoxicating liquor, you or your sons with you, when you go toward the tent of meeting, and you shall not perish. So contextually, that makes sense, right? They perished, and now he's saying anybody else who does this will perish. This is a statute for a time of long duration until the circuit of your generations, and so that you may distinguish between the kudash and between the profane and between impure and pure. And you shall point out the way, instructing the sons of Yashrael all the statutes which Debar Yahuwah has set forth toward them by the hand of Meshaha. So again, it's like he never put in commands in there. Oh, by the way, you can't be drunk before you go up to the altar. It was more of an unspoken rule, I think. It was, you don't go before the throne. If you're in heaven, you don't go before the throne of the Most High intoxicated drunk, and since they broke that unwritten rule that hadn't been put down in the Torah yet, he's like, all right, just clarification here. All right. And Meshaha set forth words in order toward Aaron and toward Eleazar and toward Ayathumar, his sons who remained. Take him the gift offering which remains from the fire offerings of Yahuwah the ever-living, and eat the unfermented beside the altar, for it is most set apart. And you shall eat her in the kudash place, for it is your established portion and your son's established portion. It is from the fire offerings of Yahuwah the ever-living. For in this manner I was commanded. And the breast of the waving and the leg of the heave offering you shall eat in the clean place, you and your sons and your daughters with you, for it is your established portion and your son's established portion, which are given from the sacrifices of the shalom offerings of the sons of Yasharel. The leg of the heave offering and the breast of the waving, besides the fire offerings of the fat, they shall bring it to wave as a waving to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living, and he will exist to you and to your sons with you for a statute for time of long duration, which Yahuwah has established. And Meshaha sought the hairy goat of the sin offering, and behold, it was burned. And his anger broke forth upon Eleazar and upon Ayathumar, the sons of Aaron, which remained to say, On what account have you not eaten the sin offering in the Kudash place? For it is most set apart, and has been gifted to you to lift up the crimes, depraved actions, and acquired guilt of the congregation, to making a covering over them, and to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living. And behold, the blood was not brought to the Kudash toward the inside, and eating, you shall eat her in the Kudash like that which was commanded. And Aaron set words in order toward Al-Mashahah. This day have they brought near their sin offering and their sending to the face of Yahuwah the ever-living. And things like this have happened to me. And had I eaten the sin offering this day, would it be pleasing in the eyes of Yahuwah? And Mashahah heard and answered, because in his eyes he did right. All right, so Christ is diverted right there. I was just thinking that, I mean, I don't know exactly, throughout Israel's history at varying times how many Levite priests there were. But do you ever wonder if there was there was more like sin, like there was more offerings being presented to the priests and they could actually eat them? They're like stuffed, they're like trying to eat, all these like goats and stuff, and there's just so much of it. I was just thinking about that. Clean and unclean foods. This is where I love this section. I'm so glad I'm doing this tonight. That I know that like chapter 6, 7, 8 was maybe a little tedious for some of you, but man, I love it in chapter 10, 11, all this here. So clean and unclean foods. And Yahuwah the ever-living set forth words in order toward Al-Mashahah and toward Al-Aaron to declare unto them, he has spoken toward the sons of Yashar to say, these are the living beasts which you shall eat from all the beasts which are upon ha'arats, all dividing the hoof, and cleaving the cleft of the hooves, and bringing up the cud among the beasts, you shall eat. So if basically really easy to distinguish this. If they chew the cud, yes. If they have a split hoof, yes. If they chew the cud but do not have a split hoof, no. If they do not chew the cud but have a split hoof, no. It has been stated by the rabbis, and I bring up the rabbis a lot just because a lot of us are new to this, and they've had thousands of years to think about this stuff, going through the Torah, while much of the rest of the church gave up on the Torah. They've made some very provocative statements saying that actually pigs, there may be a time in history when pigs are not an abomination. Now, some of you are like, what? Like, well, that's an abominable statement right there. Well, no, it's not actually, because a pig actually already has a split hoof. All Yah has to do is have it chew its cud. If a pig started chewing its cud, it would then be a clean animal. I remember in my pre-Torah days, I was having discussions. One of my friends at that time, he was very anti-Torah. In fact, when he found out, I didn't even talk to him. When he found out I went Torah, he cut it off. He wouldn't even talk to me ever again. And this was part of almost the hypocrisy here, because I remember having a conversation with him, and he was adamant that the reason why pigs became unclean, he would have been of the position that they originally did chew their cud, which is I kind of wonder about this. Maybe there was a time when they did chew their cud. That there's the thing about pigs is that they're very much like humans, and why there's so many tests done on pigs to medically to find out what we can do to humans. And are pigs Nephilim? Were they somehow corrupted in the Genesis 6 account, where they became an unclean creature, and Yahuwah no longer wanted people to eat the pig. And so they're like, okay, you're going to stop chewing your cud. It's an interesting theory. It's not something we can prove, but it is interesting, especially considering pigs are so much like people. And so I remember asking him, and I was not Torah at this time too, but I was starting to search and start asking questions. I'm like, well, wait a second. If pigs are Nephilim, why is it okay to eat them now? He didn't have an answer to that. He was like, just because all things are clean. And I'd start asking questions. Well, what about, the needles that go in our arms, the vaccinations? I just said it. I wasn't going to say it, but what about that? Are those unclean? He's like, well, yeah, but I'm like, well, isn't everything made clean now? He's like, well, not that, I'm like, okay. So we just pick and choose, I guess, what is clean and unclean, what can go in our bodies and not. This is part of, this is one of the things why this whole idea that Jesus made all things clean, he did not. But this idea that's put forward in the church, it's falling on its hinges. And I'm just like Willy Wonka standing in the background, just like grinning, watching it unfold, because people, they have that cognitive dissonance where they're going around telling people not to put certain things in your body. And it's like, what do you mean? You should just be shoving Big Macs and fries in there every day. You think that all food is, everything is made clean according to your doctrine. Just put junk food, just open up like a wastebasket, just put junk down there, and Jesus will bless that. This is why, this is the cognitive dissonance, because you have all this health culture going into the church, which should be there, right? Eating more organically, that kind of stuff. But they don't want to address that there really are things that are clean and unclean for us, according to Leviticus. Anyways, that was a long distraction there, but let's talk about this. So the hair, for though it brings up the cud, it does not divide the hoof. So there you go. There's the explanation there. It is unclean to you. And the swine, for though cleaving, it cleaves a hoof, it does not ruminate. He is unclean to you. From their flesh you shall not eat, and you shall not touch against their carcass. They are unclean to you. Clean fish. You shall eat this from all this that is in the waters. All which has fin and scales in the waters, in the seas, and in the rivers or streams, them you shall eat. One of the things I actually intended to do this week, and I guess I didn't get to it. I got so distracted with other stuff in this lesson, was I wanted to do a lot of scripture verses on sea serpents, which I love to cover. And I'm looking at the time now. Obviously, we're on page 25 of a 100-page document. So you guys know how this goes, right? So 90% of the stuff in here pretty much is going to be thrown to the wayside. But I want to show that actually sea serpents are probably clean animals. They're not like snakes. I know they're like the snakes of the ocean. They're not eels. They have scales and fins by all accounts. And of course, when you get into the Leviathan is, the idea that it will be eaten during the millennial kingdom. So, which I think is where the sea serpent accounts come from, because when the millennial kingdom comes to a close, and we're in now in the 16, 17, 1800s, there's all these sea serpent accounts. They just come out of nowhere. They're just, people are seeing them, and then they all disappear by the late 1800s into the 1900s. I think that's kind of interesting. I kind of wonder if they're like the children of the Leviathan, maybe in some way, shape, or form. Anyways, and all which are to him void of fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers or streams, from all smaller aquatic animals in the waters, and from the living defash which are in the waters, they are an abomination to you. And an abomination he shall exist to you. You shall not eat from their flesh, and you shall hold their carcass or as contaminated and loathsome. All which has not to him fin and scales in the waters, that shall be an abomination to you. So it's really simple. You go fishing, and you're not sure if it's clean or not. You pull it up. Well, you don't know what you catch first, right? But you pull it up and you look. It's got scales. It's got fins. You're good. If it's got fins but no scales, throw it back. If it's got scales but no fins, throw it back. But if it's got both, keep it. Good. And you know what? This is one of those things that I've seen a lot of comments out there from people who left the Torah. Like, they started Christian, they go into Torah, and then they just walk away from it completely. Like, they leave the Bible. I have seen them time and again. This is the one thing they go like, yeah, I'm throwing out the whole Bible, but I'm actually keeping to the clean and unclean. I always find that really interesting, because this scientifically in the natural world, I remember when I started looking at it, keeping the clean and unclean eating, I'm like, this makes so much sense to the world around us, because like every single animal has their place. Either they are, the cleanup crew, or they, like the cleanup crew, like shrimp, right? Those kind of things, shellfish, a catfish, they're bottom feeders. You have like the predators out there, the bears and the lions, you don't eat them, right? Their job is to clean up the other animals. And it's just really interesting how this works. So now talking about the clean and unclean winged fowl. And these are contaminated, detestable among the winged fowls. They shall not be eaten. They are contaminated, detestable. The eagle and the ferris, which is the ossifrage, and the, I can't even pronounce this, the Azanu Yaha, which is a species of eagle, and the Da'aha, which is a fast-flying bird of prey, perhaps the vulture. And I like how Pamela kept the original words because she's like, we don't really know. This is what people suspect it is, but we don't really know. And the Yaha, which is a clamorous bird of prey after his species, all raven after his species, and the daughter of Anuha, which is perhaps an ostrich, and the Atha Thukamas, which is perhaps the male ostrich. So I guess female and male ostrich, and the hawk after his species, and the Athkaus, which is the pelican, and the fish catcher, which is the aquatic bird of prey, maybe the pelican as well. Where was I? The fish catcher and the heron or crane. I love herons, not to eat, obviously, but man, living in the American South, the blue herons, I could watch a heron all day because I sit there in my office and I'll look out the window and there'll be one out there trying to catch fish, and I'll just stop what I'm doing and just watch them. I love them. The heron or crane, the Thunu Shamath, and the Kuath, and the Rakam, and I'm just going to go through this list and I'll read them. And the Chasayadaha, the Anufaha after his species, and the Daukayapath, and the bat. She just puts in the bat there after. But anyway, so you can see here this is talking about storks. Oh, an angry bird. I like the video games. Do not eat angry birds. The hopu, different stuff like that. All right. All reptiles or small aquatic animals, creatures that walk upon four, it is an abomination unto you. However, these you shall eat from among all swarmers, which are winged creatures that walk upon four, which have legs from above, and their feet are for leaping or trembling with these upon ha'arats. These are them you shall eat: the locust after his species, and the shalom, and the leaping locust after his species, and the ground locust after his kind. But all other swarming winged creatures which have for him 4 feet, he is an abomination unto you. And for these you shall be unclean. All who touches upon their carcass shall be unclean, polluted until Arab, until the evening. And all who lift up from their carcass shall wash his garments and shall be unclean, polluted until Arab, which again is the time between sunset and deep twilight, according to Pamela. For every beast which divides a hoof and is cloven-hoofed, but lacks bringing up the cud, these are unclean, polluted to you. All who touch upon them, he shall be unclean or polluted. And all which walk upon the curved hollow of his hands, upon all the living that walk on four, these are unclean, polluted to you. All that touch upon their carcass shall be unclean, polluted, until Arab, that's the time between sunset and deep twilight. And he that lifts up their carcass shall wash his garments and shall be unclean, polluted, until the time between sunset and deep twilight. And these shall be unclean to you among the swarmers that swarm upon ha'arats, the halad, which is considered to be the mole weasel, and the akabar, which is believed to be the mouse, and the sab, after his species. The sab would be the lizard, and the anukuha, and the kak, and the lizard, and the hamat, and the thunu shamath. Let me just look at all these right here. So that would be lizard, kind of like a chameleon. Got it. Bunch of lizards. Don't eat lizards. All right, just don't do it. These are the unclean ones to you among the swarmers. All that touch on them in death shall be unclean or polluted until Arab, until deep dusk. And all which he falls upon in death shall be unclean, from all implements of wood, or rather a garment, or perhaps skin, or perhaps sackcloth, all vessels which shall be fashioned for a work of service in them. The vessel must enter into water and shall be unclean until Arab, thus becoming cleansed. All earthenware implements into which he shall fall from them toward the midst of it, all which is within his midst, and you shall break into pieces. From all which is eaten as food upon which the polluted waters come, he shall be unclean. All drink which can be drunk in every vessel shall be unclean, and all which will follow from their carcasses upon him will be unclean. Whether oven or cooking vessel, she shall be broken down, destroyed. They are unclean ones, and unclean ones they shall exist to you. Certainly a fountain or a cistern wherein water is collected shall exist pure, but that which touches upon their carcasses shall be unclean. And if he shall fall from their carcass upon any seed for sowing which is to be sown, it shall be clean. But if water be put upon the seed, and if any part from the carcass fall upon him, it shall be unclean to you. Cattle dying of diseases, unclean. And if any among beasts which are food to you dies, of all which is for eating, that touching upon the carcass shall be polluted until a rob. And he who so don't eat roadkill, guys. All right. It's one of those. Like in the ancient world, I mean, we really don't think about this for those of us who go to the grocery store. I always think this is like the true hypocrisy. Like in this day and age, particularly in liberal culture, they're completely against hunting. Like people who are hunters are the worst. I grew up in California, so I know how they think. And it's just like, do you realize where you get your meat from? Like somebody had to kill that at the grocery store for you to go pick up this little slab of meat in a little carton. And actually, and not to get too Hollywood on you guys, but I saw an interview recently from Kurt Russell, and he hunts for his own food. He moved to Colorado and he goes and hunts, and I guess some liberal groups got a hold of this and they're just freaking out. And he was just like, he's pointing out this hypocrisy. But he was talking about how when you go and you kill your own food, some of you out there listening, you're like, yeah, I kill my own food too. So maybe you'll identify with this or not. But he says that there is this respect that the animal gave its life for you. There's this connection to the food you're actually eating that you're not going to get, obviously, in the grocery store. It's almost like in the grocery store, it could be, doesn't really matter if it's a hot dog or tofu, right? It's just a slab of food you eat. You don't know where it's coming from. But in this case right here, it's like what he's saying is, by the way, like if you're going to eat meat, it's going to be a sacrifice, right? I mean, if I'm a farmer, I have sheep. I've got 6-7 sheep. I go to eat one of those sheep. I'm down a sheep now, right? That sheep is no longer going to be procreating. It's not going to be having children, that kind of stuff. So it's really easy for if the lamb were to die and be like, oh, I can go eat him now. He's like, nope, no, you're not going to do that. Okay, where was that? Let's just read from the reptiles, from the top right here. All reptiles are unclean. And all the swarmers that swarm upon the earth, rots, is an abomination. It shall not be eaten. All that walk upon the belly like reptiles, and all that walk upon four perpetually, all from a great number of feet. For all the swarmers upon rots, them ye shall not eat, for they are an abomination. As strong leaders, you shall not make your nephash loathsome with any of the swarmers that swarm, and you shall not make yourselves polluted with them, that your lives become unclean with them. For I am Yahweh the ever-living, your Allahah, and you shall therefore set yourselves apart, and you shall be Kudash ones, for I am Kudash. And neither shall you make polluted your nefashathuya with any of the swarmers that swarm upon Ha'aratz. For I, Yahuwah, the ever-living, have lifted you up from the land of Mitzrayim to exist unto you of Allahayam, and you shall exist as Kudash ones, for I am firmly established as Kudawash. This is the Torah of Ha-Bahamaha, and of winged fowl, and of all nephash that exists creeping, moving swiftly in the waters, and of all nephash that swarms upon Ha'aratz, in order to make a distinction between the clean and the unclean, and between the living creatures that may be eaten, between the living creatures that may not be eaten. So this is what just happened right here. He's like, look, I just brought you out of Egypt. They might eat that way in Egypt. They might just pull anything out of the waters and eat it. Maybe they eat crocodile there. I don't really know. But I didn't call you out of Egypt, call you to come closer to, out here in the wilderness, to come unto me, to live that kind of lifestyle anymore. I'm calling you to be a holy, set apart people. And this is how we do it, guys, by how we eat, be set apart for our Creator. And We just did it. We just got through 2 Torah portions. We've got a little bit of time left. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip a lot of work here, particularly stuff from the first half, because I think that I really enjoyed talking about the second half a whole lot more. I would be sad to see that go. So, and I could always recycle some of this all throughout the Torah. See, I'm skipping this. Did someone say all night long? I mean, that's... I only get to put that joke in there like once a year, and I'm skipping it. It's like too bad. But all right. Let's see. What are we coming up here? I'm skipping a lot. All right. We'll skip the 8th grade day 2, because I kind of covered that tonight. You guys can do a study on that. I've done it before. All right. Let's look at strange fire. Nadab and Abihu. Kind of a fun little illustration here. Yeah. So a possible explanation by the sages. Like I said, the rabbis have had thousands of years to think about this. And these are some of the different theories that are put forward. There's generally 6 theories. One is that they drank too much wine, hence immediate restrictions afterwards. That's my theory. The 3 here I highlighted are the ones I think are most probable. Secondly, they entered the Holy of Holies. Now, have they done so, that would have been naughty to do it. But I don't know that there is a strong indication that they did. They were not wearing the proper clothing. That's a 3rd theory. Maybe they weren't, but and maybe I should have highlighted that, because they did just the section right beforehand. They did talk about the clothing, so maybe as part of their being drunk, they just weren't dressed for the part. Maybe they're a little unhinged. Number 4, they took fire from somewhere beside the altar. I mean, I think that's pretty straightforward in the text. It's considered a theory, but I think it's pretty much there. Number 5, they went outside of Torah commands. Well, duh. Because I should just highlight that one. And number 6, they were attempting to exalt themselves as leaders. I highlighted that one. I don't know if you could prove that, but I kind of think that that's what they were doing right there. I think that's a really good theory. So we saw in chapter 9 that the fire of the Ruach HaKodesh already came down and lit it. I emphasize that point. So let's read what it says in 1 Thessalonians in one of Paul's midrashes, as he's just giving commentary on the Torah and showing us how to live our lives in the, I guess, post-messianic world. But we ask you, brothers, to acknowledge those who work diligently among you, who preside over you in Yahweh and give you instruction. In love, hold them in highest regard because of their work. Live in peace with one another. One of the reasons I highlighted that there is because my concern for internet culture, I do not like social media, guys. And I say that because I love the community we have formed here, and it is a social media community. I can't get around that part. I mean, we just had a 2-hour meetup before this. I love meeting up with you guys. It's one of my favorite parts of the week. But I think you guys can agree with me. You go out there to social media, you go out there to Facebook, different places. There is no respect for or acknowledgement for what he says here. Acknowledge those who work diligently among you, who preside over you. In this day and age, nobody presides over us at all. There is no respect or authority for that. No respect for authorities. And everybody is out there doing what is right in their own eyes. And I believe that social media teaches us to, I mean, even Hollywood, I brought up Hollywood earlier tonight. Hollywood is already talking about this, how the age of the celebrity is gone. Like the last true, Hollywood celebrities we had were like George Clooney, Brad Pitt. And I'm not boo-hooing the loss of that. I'm just kind of showing you guys the paradigm shift that like the 90s was like the last decade of true Hollywood stardom, because now everybody is a celebrity right now. Everyone is trying to have a slice of that pie, and they're reaching out. And I don't know if you can hear that, a loud rap song just went by outside. And so we have completely lost this within the church, in the greater community right here. And love, hold them in the highest regard because of their work. Live in peace with one another. And just give you guys an example. Like when it comes to Pamela and Rebecca, I roll out the red carpet for them. And when people come into the community, it's always the newbies. It's not the veterans. And they show them disrespect. And they're like, I know more than you. I just learned the Hebrew like a week ago. And I just started studying the words this last week. And even though you've been studying it for a long time and you have all this research, I disagree. You know what I'm saying? Well, we get those people. And it's just like, you know what? Just get out of here. Like, just there's no love or respect among so many people. And we urge you, brothers, to admonish the unruly, encourage the faint-hearted, help the weak, and be patient with everyone. Make sure that no one repays evil for evil. Always pursue what is good for one another and for all people. Rejoice all the time. Pray without ceasing. Give thanks in every circumstance. Remember, we're to be a living sacrifice, right? So this is what's, the Thanksgiving sacrifices here. Thanks in every circumstance. For this is Allah's will for you in Mashiach Yahshua. Do not extinguish the spirit. Do not treat prophecies with contempt. That's hard in this day and age, isn't it? Man, we're all so jaded today. This is the age of mockery, and we're mockers, and we're just jaded. So it's hard. Yeah, that's enough commentary right there for that. Do not treat prophecies with contempt, but test all things. Okay, so Paul's, you can see the same thing in the Didache too. They say this about the prophets. They say that, they describe for you what the blasphemy of the spirit is. I think I did that last time. But they also say the same thing, that test all things. This is the Deuteronomy 13 test. He's not telling you not to take the Deuteronomy 13 test. Hold fast to what is good. Abstain from every form of evil. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. So here's a passage in Genesis 9 about challenging authority and being drunk. And this is where I was kind of building that, kind of agreeing with that that theory with Aaron's sons, because we see the same thing with Ham, and you guys know that account right there. And but he challenges his authority. He goes in there and he sleeps with Noah's wife. That's the nakedness of his father that he saw. He sleeps with his wife. He goes and tells his two brothers. He's like, hey, I'm in charge now. And you wonder if Nadab and Abihu maybe even didn't get that far to go tell their brothers, hey, by the way, we're the big dogs now. We're taking control of this, before they were killed. Don't know how far they got. A lot of stuff about fire here, but for lack of time, let's just keep going on because there's other things I want to cover. Isn't it a shame I have to go past so much scripture? Let's talk about clean and unclean animals. Now, I'm showing you pictures here. All of these are either medieval or I think early Renaissance. And in all of these, they show, it's kind of like the Where's Waldo. They show unicorns in the garden. It is from everything I've researched, it is my position that during the Millennial Kingdom, that the unicorn was seen to exist in paradise. He or she, or really he usually, is a similar creature to the phoenix. The same thing with the phoenix. The phoenix derives from paradise. The unicorn was there in paradise. I am not. I don't think we're going to go to the Sahara and find like a fossil of a unicorn. That could happen, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I think that that's one of the reasons why there was a huge emphasis on the unicorn. But the artists themselves, they varied very much so. You see a lot of the other animals, they look the same. You see all these different depictions of the unicorn, and that's one of the signs that the artist who was drawing them didn't really know what they looked like. They were trying the best they could. A lot of the descriptions were that they were the size of a goat, so they were actually very small. It's not till more recent times in history when we see these big, massive, unicorns that somebody can ride on. They were usually smaller. Why did I just tell you about that? Well, I'll give you in a second. So we see clean and unclean animals at creation, and this comes from Genesis in the Aramaic Targum. And it says this, and Yahuwah said, let the soil of the earth bring forth the living creatures according to his kind, the kind that is clean and the kind that is unclean, cattle and creeping things and so on and so on. Now, a lot of people who don't like this, who want to pretend that that all animals were clean, and they evolved evolution into unclean animals at Sinai, and that they evolved back into clean animals again with Messiah. I don't know how that really works. They're going to look at something like that and say, no, that's not true. That's just Jewish people reading that into the text. Oh, I have to show you this. I love this. Of all these brides going to the wedding, and there's unicorns pulling the chair. I just love that to death. Maybe there were. I don't know. Maybe there were unicorns back then. Shabbat 28. So this is here's the Talmud. I'm going to get into the clean and unclean animals before Sinai in a second, but it says that the ox that Adam, the first man, sacrificed as a thanks offering for his life being spared, had a single horn on its forehead. For those of you who remember, one of my favorite papers I ever wrote, research papers, was The Lady and the Unicorn. It brings me great delight to see Lady and the Unicorn artwork and all through Europe and all that kind of stuff. I covered all of this and how popular the unicorn was in the 1st and 2nd century. And you see that the Jewish and the Christian tradition together are in agreement of the unicorn. And so, again, in Legends of the Jews here, it actually says that the first animal that Adam and Eve sacrificed was a unicorn. And that always gets some people to turn their heads like that can't be true. But actually, it means that the unicorn is a clean animal. It's not a horse. This is why it's compared to back then, the 1st, 2nd century, and all that time period. It's referred to more as a goat than a horse. It had split hooves, chewed its cud, and clean animal. Now, with pictures like this, I could show you 100 pictures of Noah's Ark, and they're all going to look the same. Now you could look here. I see 2 sheep right next to 2 pigs. I see 2 giraffes right next to 2, I guess, camels right there. I'm trying to find if there's any other clean animals here. There's 2 cattle right next to 2 horses. And I'm noticing a theme that the people in these that draw this work are just saying that 2 of every creature went on the ark. Well, that's clearly not true. Now, I personally think, because I went my whole life not seeing this. Let me just read this for you first. Genesis chapter 7. It says, so this is Genesis. You can look at the KJV, NIV, pick your translation. Then Yahweh has said to Noah, I don't know why there's a T there. That's weird. Go into the ark, you and all your family, because I have found your righteousness in this generation. You are to take with you 7 pairs of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, a pair of every kind of unclean animal. So there it is right there. It says right there in the Bible that the only animals that went in 2 by 2 were unclean animals. So there should have been 14 giraffes that went in, 14 sheep that went in, 14 goats that went in. Pick your clean animal. 2 pigs, only 2 pigs went in, but 14 giraffes. I remember, I personally think, so why are we seeing hundreds of illustrations that they don't show the clean animals? Now, maybe today it's just deception, but I personally think that people's eyes really were closed to this. I really do. I think that people just went so long blinded that they would read an account like this and not even see it, because I didn't see it my whole life. I remember the first time when I went Torah, and I was just encountering someone online. I'm not an argumentative sort. For those of you who know me online, I don't really like to argue at all. I'm just like, whatever. I'll just maybe like leave a comment and move on. I don't want to give people fuel. And I remember this woman is just arguing that there were no unclean animals until Sinai, and that, this whole thing, there's no unclean animals today. And all I did was I just posted this right here. I posted that, and she read that, and I was blocked immediately. It was one of those things. I wasn't arguing. I just say, hey, look, I just found this in the Bible. Here it is. And boom, blocked it. She just couldn't handle, didn't know what to do with that. It just blew away her whole worldview. So here in Jubilees chapter 6, we see what the reason for some of these clean animals. Immediately after the flood, it says that the animals that Noah sacrificed, it was like a kid, so like a goat. So he's sacrificing clean animals. Interesting enough, you get into the Maccabees, and there's a abomination that causes desolation. What do you know? It was swine's flesh. They had a luau. They threw a pig on the barbecue, and that caused the abomination that causes this. So I'm sure today, if they do get around to building another temple, which may actually happen real soon here, you never really know the way the state of the world is. I'm sure if they threw on a pig on the barbecue today, it wouldn't be an abomination to cause desolation, right? I mean, if all things are clean, that's one of the things the church is going to have to kind of think through and figure out. You guys know about Peter's vision of the animals. There was one thing here I did want to cover. Here's the unicorn here. Oh yeah, so in the bestialities of the Middle Ages, they would always be showing the different animals have these different characteristics, like these spiritual characteristics. And here you can see a goat depicted like not a goat, a unicorn depicted as a goat. It's getting late. The unicorn is depicted as a goat, and it's a creature that would, they're trying to hunt the unicorn. That's a big thing, try to kill the unicorn. The unicorn, the only way they could ever trap a unicorn is with a virgin. This is a clear depiction of Christ's love for his church. They said this from the very beginning, and that he would give himself up for his church, knowing that he would be slain. And that's what the unicorn represents right there. But I want to read you, and I think I'm going to end on this probably tonight, from Bar Navi, or Barnabas, chapter 10. And I love this chapter because it tells us, it takes the letter of the law into more spiritual territory. So we all know that we're not to eat swine's flesh, right? That it's got to have fins and scales. It's got to chew its cud, have split hooves, all these kind of things, right? And so the writer of this book, he's like, that's nice and all, and that's true. This book, by the way, the Epistle of Barnabas, it is one of the most butchered books out there. It is so hard to get a good translation. I am convinced that the church fathers, translators in the last couple hundred years have gone out of their way to try to fit with modern theology with this. But he's actually agreeing with Moses. All right. He's saying, okay, look, the Torah is true, but here's what the Jews, they don't get. They're not getting this. They're just thinking that they're not supposed to eat pig, but they're actually like a piggish people. All right. So it's not, just remember that. Like, you don't want to be a piggish person. You don't want to be an octopus. You don't want to be a lizard. You don't want to be a reptilian. You know what I'm saying? So let's just read through this tonight. Chapter 10, how to connect the spirits of the law with the letter of the law. And let's take this a little bit deeper. When Moshe said he will not eat the swine, the eagle, the hawk, the crow, we covered that all tonight in Leviticus, or any fish that has no scales, he had three principles in mind. For at the end, he enumerates them in Devarim, or Deuteronomy. I will place before this people my Torah. So this is not Elohim's commandment about crunching. Rather, Moshe spoke in this spirit about swine. You will not cleave to piggish people of this sort. Now this, I'll finish this thought. When they get full, they forget the master, and when they are in need, they think of the master. This is one of the reasons why it is important to be in the habit of praying when you're done eating, because it's really easy to, when you're hungry, to be, oh, thank you God for this food, and then you're just piggish, and then you forget about it afterwards, right? So when they get full, they forget the master, and when they are in need, they think of the master. Like the swine who does not know its master when it eats, when hungry it cries out, and once it has received, is quiet again. So we don't want to be a piggish people. Now, I was going to say something. So I skipped over Peter's vision. You guys are all familiar with it. What I wanted to do was do a study on that with Jubilees, and showing how there are people out there when they don't, like, I've seen some ministries out there, I won't give any names, who have tried to disprove Enoch, try to disprove Jubilees, this kind of stuff. It's kind of growing momentum out there. Some people are trying to hold on to canon, and a lot of us are looking at all these extra biblical books, and they have tried to state that the Book of Jubilees tells people not to eat with sinners, and that somehow we're supposed to eat with sinners. Actually, that's not true. And in fact, in Peter's vision, he makes it very clear that if people are pursuing the truth, yeah, we should eat with them. But yeah, no, you don't go in the company of sinners. You should not be associated with piggish people. You shouldn't be associated with murderers and adulterers and people who are living sinful lives. Do not associate with them. This is you can go to the Proverbs, the Psalms, you can back this up. And Peter understood that. He understood that the vision was not about eating clean or unclean animals. It was about, do not consider people unclean who are seeking the truth. All right. And that's the whole thing with Yahshua, right? It doesn't diverge from his teachings at all. He went and ate with sinners, but he's not going to the strip bar, guys, right? Yahshua wasn't going to the strip bar. I don't know any preacher in the right mind who would say that. Everyone has their boundaries. No, he was going to people who were cast out of the religious system of the day, but they were clearly seeking medicine from the physician. All right. Nor will you eat the buzzard, the hawk, the kite, or the crow. So by this, he means that you will not cleave to nor be like the people of this sort, who do not know how to provide for themselves by labor and sweat, but in their iniquity, they seize the property of others. Does this sound like anyone you know? This sounds very much like, it's funny how like in cartoons today, it's still okay to, like have different dogs, with different like human personalities and stuff. That hasn't become politically incorrect yet. But it's very true of animals. Like animals really do have human personalities. They observe, watching whom they will plunder in their covetousness, while they carry on as though innocent. And there are a lot of people like this online too. I would say that this fills the spirit of jealousy that Joseph's brothers had for him. They had the spirit of jealousy, and it led to murder. They tried to murder their brother. People do this online too. They try to dethrone people. They try to steal their work. They don't want people, they just want to have it all themselves. I see this happen a lot in the modern day and age amongst the spiritual crowd. The same way these birds provide no food for themselves by work, but sitting idly by, seek out how they can eat the meat of others. Some people are likewise destructive on account of their evil work. So I'll give an example of this. I was having this philosophical, theological discussion with Lewis during our lived religion discussion a couple weeks back. And we were bringing up, giving like the shirt off your back to help a homeless person, that kind of stuff. And I brought up the example of, because I've seen this in the ministry, where there are people who are in need of money. Right. And in this day and age, a lot of you out there, man, you guys are, I get it, man. There are people wanting. We're all in tight spots right now. But because in this ministry, people donate money, and then I get these pockets of money. I will have people show up asking for it. And so my goal is in helping anybody is to get them up on their feet. All right. So you're down in the dumps. How can we help you get up? And so, you start interviewing the people, and you're like, okay, so can you get a job? And they're like, well, I'm an architect. I'm like, awesome. You have a degree in architecture, some sort of architectural degree. They're like, yeah, I do. I'm like, okay, can you go get a job in art? Well, no, there's no openings right now. I'm like, okay, well, what about flipping pancakes? Can you go do? It's like, no, that's below me. I'm like, okay, so what's your goal then? What's your plan? Well, because there's no job openings for a person of my stature, I'm not going to take those little jobs. And they're like living in their car, like on the street, with like kids. You know what I'm saying? It's like eventually, like you start to notice, okay, you're just going around trying to take people's money. You're not actually working, and there needs to come a point where you're not this kind of person. You're not an unclean animal. You're not a buzzard or whatever, just trying to take, and not doing the work. All right. Does that make sense to you guys? Did I execute that properly. All right. And you will not eat the lamprey, the octopus, or the squid. And he means you will not cleave to or become like people of this sort who are immoral to the end, having already been condemned to death, even as these accursed fish swim alone in the abyss, not suspended as the others, but dwelling in the muck in the depth of the sea. It sounds like this kind of person, like if you're an octopus, that you are doing some things that you're hoping nobody sees. You know, you could be publicly, like you could be, you're hiding all of this, right? And you think you're not going to be caught or found out. Don't be that. Don't be a squid. Don't be an octopus. All right. He says you will not eat the rabbit, and he means you will not be a pedophile. I just said that. That could, like, I think that's one of the the pizza words. I should have said pizza. You should not be a slice of pizza, or like such. For the rabbit grows an orifice in the body each year, so it has many anuses as years. What's interesting, I will say, about the rabbit is to this day, it is still associated with that. Just think about the Playboy bunnies or whatever. And it's kind of sad, even thinking about whatever the original intent was with Alice in Wonderland. It is clearly used as an MK Ultra, disassociating yourself from above, from below, being pulled apart into two different people. And, the poor things that probably happened to the real Alice Liddell. I was actually writing an article about that this week. Kind of sad. But anyways, it's interesting that to this day, the rabbit is still used for that. Nor will you eat the hyena, meaning you will not be an effeminate seducer of children. Oh, my goodness. Or a wanton, abortive fornicator, or any such person, because the hyena's traits change each year, becoming like a male one year and like a female the next. So this has been criticized heavily, but actually this, I can show you, this is true. And I kind of sometimes wonder about the rabbit translation, but the thing is that the female hyena is the will become the alpha in the tribes, and they have a part of the body that they make it look like a male part. And so this is actually a true observation. But yeah, so effeminate seducer of children. I mean, enough said, right? One of the things that I've realized recently, and I don't know if I said this live on YouTube, but I did write this to the Facebook group. I noticed that when Yahuwah says that it's a death sentence to be this, what we just read, there, at the end of the day, like 99.9% or whatever, basically all homosexuals were molested as children. Something inappropriate happened to them as children, where they bottled it up, and they most likely, in most of these cases, it was a relative, and like the family would go like, oh no, this person would never do that, right? That can't be. And so you can imagine why these children they're bottling up. They can't talk about it. Maybe they got shot down. They don't know how to talk about this, and they end up dealing with it in this way. The sad thing is about the drag queens out there is that they are targeting children of the same age that they were when they were molested, whatever. And of course, the trend continues. And this is one of the sick things that is happening, that is becoming, where evil is now being called good, and you're not supposed to criticize it. I could care less. It's one of those things, like, they could take down my channel. I'm not going to ever not criticize how evil this practice is. And I get it, why Yah was like, you need to put these people down. I get it. For all the Christians out there going, no, I'm against, it's like, no, look, you're questioning God here. Like, he knows that this is going to continue from generation to generation. It will never stop, ever. And it's just going to keep spreading and spreading and spreading, because that's what they do. It will never end, and you need to just nip it in the bud and stop it. And because if you cut them off, there's nobody left to do it. See what I'm saying? Well, anyways, don't be a hyena. No, nor will you eat the weasel. And with good reason, you will not be like those who hear about who do forbidden and immoral acts in their mouths. For these creatures gush forth into their mouths. So Moshe spoke of these 3 teachings about food in a spiritual sense. But the people, in accordance with the lust of their flesh, receive them as being only about eating. And that's what's important there. If you're reading a translation that says that he's saying that they misunderstood it to be about eating, it was okay to eat the weasel and the hyena. Like, no, like that's disgusting. Like, no, I don't want to eat a hyena or a weasel or any of this stuff. But as you can see there, what he's saying is that the people thought that they were going to keep the letter of the law by not eating it, but they could act like the very animals they weren't supposed to eat. All right. And okay, so eat everything that is cloven-footed and choose the cud. What does he mean? The cruncher takes food from the muncher and becoming dependent upon him for food acts as though he were glad. So see how well Moshe discerns the commandment. He means cleave to those who fear Yahweh, who walk in his commandments, who have received them in their hearts. Cleave to those who discuss Yahweh's commandments and observe them. Cleave to those who know that practicing them is a work of gladness. Cleave to them who meditate on the word of Yahweh. And again, what is the meaning of with cloven hoof? It means that those who cleaves to righteousness walks in this world, yet cleaves to the expectation of the set-apart age to follow. Excuse me. Consider how well Moshe has made this Torah. How is it possible for anyone to recognize or understand these things? No matter. We speak them just as Yahweh willed, because we have correctly understood his commandments. For this cause, he circumcised our ears and hearts so we might appreciate them all. So the idea is that we are to talk about his commands with our family, our children, day and night. They're to be on our minds. And we are to be like an animal, a clean animal chewing their cud, right? We are just ruminating, like it's in our mouth. And so naturally when we go, bah, right, when we speak, it just comes out because we're taking in the commands, we're speaking, we're releasing them as well. So there's that right there. I'm going to end on that tonight. As you guys know, it's just one of the painful things about the Torah portions. I love them. It takes like an hour to read through them, and then my commentary is kind of shortened. That's why we'll have to do it again next year, right? We'll have to just keep going through and through and through, and I'll be sure to cover some of what I missed tonight and recycle it in other episodes. I hope you guys have a good week, good Sabbath, day of rest. And I'm going to end it on this. Again, for those of you who were not, I don't know if you could tell I was in a really good mood tonight. For those of you who were not a part of our group tonight, you missed it. I'm sorry. Maybe you can find somebody in the know. They could tell you the good news. I can't tell you during this broadcast. Maybe next week I'll be able to. We'll find out. Tune in. But I'm really, really, really excited for the future of this community and this text, this Paleo Hebrew text that we were reading through tonight. What more can be said about that? I don't know. Yeah. So if Yah has put it on your heart, please, well, first of all, please pray for me, pray for this ministry, pray for Pamela, for Rebecca. And here's another clue for you, another hint. Pray for Hunter as well, Hunter Tyler. Pray for all of us. And pray for other people like Dawn, and throw in Carly if you haven't, and just other people if you guys know us that are kind of behind the scenes in this ministry. And if Yah does put on your heart, please, we are dependent upon you to continue this going, keep this up. So like I said, Patreon is the best way. You guys get the I didn't talk about it at the beginning. You guys get the coupons every month that you guys get the products. Oh man, I didn't even talk about the t-shirts this week. Oh my goodness. We'll have to do that next week. We just launched a whole new whole line of t-shirts that are really awesome. You guys can redeem those with the monthly support, and of course all the books we put out and that kind of stuff. So go check that out. We have a whole line of t-shirts that are really awesome. Have a good week, everyone. We'll do this again.